Hello everybody, it's me, Riffraff Hornhelm, and I'm back again with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault. And today, we have a character review. Now, once again, our character reviews are submitted to us by people who are very kind people who send us something about their specific character, and we review them here on this channel. And today we have a strange offering. We're going to talk to you about a character named IKKIWALLAPOPO. Yeah, I know. That's a pretty interesting name, I have to. He's a barbarian, and I think you're going to find him, well, interesting, amusing, certainly. I'm going to turn you over to our good buddy Red, and he'll take you through, and we'll talk to you afterwards. Enjoy! Hello, everybody. It's me, Red Hornhelm. Remember, I'm Red. You're not. And I'm back again today to talk about another character. It never seems like we get the normal characters here, and I'm always has to review some very odd types of characters, so I guess I should just get going and introduce you to IKKIWALLAPOPO. Yeah, I know. Apparently he's called Icky for short. IKKIWALLAPOPO is a barbarian. And he's a barbarian that is playing currently in the world of 5e, but has been around for a while. It says he started off in 3.5 and has morphed over time. He's an 11th level barbarian, and he's brought to us by a very interesting person based on the email they sent us named Dan. And Dan lives in the Sunshine State. You know, like one of the oddest states in the United States of America, at least based on things like internet memes. Certainly nice weather, I guess. And Dan has sent us this interesting barbarian whom he says is very basic. In his description for IKKIWALLAPOPO, like say somebody who's from Samoa or a Polynesian descent, one of these really big boys. And he is not overburdened with the trappings of society, shall we say. He wears a loincloth, says it's kind of nasty, but been with him a long time. We're not going to talk about what that might look or smell like. It's a loincloth, and it covers the naughty bits as well as can be expected. He also has a necklace made out of tusks that he wears around his neck. In addition to this, he has some very basic weapons. He has a spear with a sharpened, fire-hardened tip and a wooden club. We're talking the high-tech stuff here, folks. And his most important weapon, he also has a small knife. And the knife is actually made out of volcanic obsidian. Very sharp. Also, not very large. He carries a bag that has his everyday items in it, including his lucky gold coin and a few things like bones and whatnot that he's picked up along the way, as well as some basic food, and we're talking basic food like a chunk of meat, and if he has that, he's happy. Now, IKKIWALLAPOPO also has one very important weapon for him, and it kind of defines his entire existence so far, and that's a big sling. Now, we're not talking about the kind of sling that you see in movies today or read about in books that has this little pouch on the end that's big enough to hold a rock. This is far larger in size than what we're talking about there. It is massive. It is able to throw things as large as 1.5 times the size of a coconut. Now, one of the other items he was carrying for a long time was a big woven fiber bag that held coconuts. And he would use the coconuts as the ammunition in his very effective sling. Obviously, over time, that wasn't sustainable. So he pretty much picks up anything from very large rocks. I mean, you know, you're talking about a basketball sized rock and things like that with his sling. Now we can look at that and say, yeah, how's the sling going to survive all that time? Well, unbeknownst to him, his sling is actually magical. Only because at one point he repaired it using elven rope that had been spelled, and it won't break. Now he doesn't really know this, and being a barbarian, well, they're not too friendly with magic, so I understand. But it means that he really can throw the items that he has for his amazing abilities. So one of the important things to understand about IKKIWALLAPOPO, I just love that name, is the fact that he's not very smart. In the greater lottery of intelligence, he has a 3. A 3. I mean, at least based on original stats, barring any modifications for a race or class, as low as you're going to go. And unfortunately, this colors every aspect of Icky's life. He's not very bright at all, and has gotten himself in a great deal of trouble because of his inability to deal with the world around him in an intelligent manner. Now, barbarians are not exactly noted for that to begin with, so I get that part. But having said that, boy, is this guy a real piece of work. No party wants to travel with him very long because of his blatant stupidity, frankly. It's bad enough that they want to destroy anything magical. Okay, that's bad enough. But this one will get into lots of other trouble because he just can't figure out what's going on around him. Icky was banished from his island that he grew up with, out in some kind of, beautiful tropical ocean, great weather, all this kind of good stuff, and he got tossed. So Icky has had a troubling life, very difficult because of his, his lack of intelligence, as is commented in the email, his very poor hygiene. That's never going to win you any points anywhere. And because he's capable of causing great harm through his lack of intelligence, he just can't figure things out. So really, when we looked at it, it was what kind of epic successes and epic failures has IKKIWALLAPOPO gone through? Well, his epic success was definitely having to do with his sling. With his sling and being able to sling large, heavy objects and so forth, and because he's a barbarian, and because he hates magic, and he has very good reflexes, and he's strong, he was able to take something that was a magical item that essentially was the equivalent of a bomb. After a certain period of time, once it was touched and the trap was set off, after a certain period of time, it would explode. And that explosion would do 1 to 1,000 points worth of damage to all within a certain radius, and it was a very large radius. And of course, IKKIWALLAPOPO had to be the savior of the group because he didn't like magic. So he grabbed it from everybody else, though they were trying to be very careful with it to try and prevent it from being exploded. And he took this device and he put it in the sling, and with a fantastic roll, slung that thing away as far as he's ever been able to sling an object before. And when it detonated, it did not do any damage to the party or themselves, and essentially he saved the entire party. Now, he did it because it was magic and magic was bad. He didn't do it trying to save the party, but results are results, right? So that was an epic success that all of his fellow adventurers really strongly remember about good old Icky. Now, of course, in looking at it, as an epic success and talking to the rest of the Hornhelms, I mean, barbarians are okay. They're into fighting, so as dwarves, we think that's pretty cool. But as a epic success, getting rid of a dangerous magic item the way in which he did, which was certainly a fantastic athletic feat and a lucky roll. Yeah, we think that's a pretty major epic success, and we're gonna give it a 9. I talked to everybody, and most people were anywhere from 8 to 9, but there were more 9s than 8s, and not enough 8s to justify going 8.5, so I'm going to go at 9. Well done, IKKIWALLAPOPO. It's got to go into a song or something. It just rolls trippingly off the tongue. So, of course, along with every epic success, there tends to be an epic failure of some kind. Well, sometimes not being so smart and hating magic and not understanding magic very well can all combine to make a unpleasant situation even worse. The adventuring party that Icky was traveling with was trying to confront essentially what was the boss of the dungeon. And the boss of the dungeon was a ancient old red dragon that sat on a little island in the middle of a lava pool. The party was on one side and the dragon was on the other. Well, the dragon, of course, an ancient old red dragon is not stupid. It's figuring out the dynamics of the group across from it, who, of course, is trying to kill it, throwing spells and missile weapons across this lava lake, which in the email says it was about 100 foot of distance between the edge of the lava lake and where the dragon was. And, well, poor Icky got targeted by a spell and was enclosed in darkness and couldn't see. Well, when you're a really dumb barbarian and you don't like magic, and dragons, well, yeah, they definitely get your attention, he kind of lost it. And in doing so, when he lost it, he was very indiscreet about the actions he was taking. He was looking for ammunition for his sling, and he'd reach out and grab whatever he could, throw it into the sling, and away he went. Well, unfortunately, the party he was traveling with had a fairly high proportion of gnomes. And every time he, in the dark, stumbled into a gnome, he thought it was just, he's stupid, he's very upset, doesn't know what's going on. He'd grab them, put them in the sling, and sling him in the direction that he heard the dragon. Well, it didn't work out too well. In the party, there were 4 gnomes. 3 of them were brothers. And one was a close friend of the brothers. And unfortunately, during the course of this combat, he managed to launch all of them across. And they were either caught and eaten by the dragon, or he missed and they dropped into lava. It didn't end well for any of the dwarves. All of them were killed. The rest of the party, of course, was very upset with poor Iggy, and they banished him from the party and spread the story of what had happened all around so that poor Iggy couldn't find a job. He wasn't seen as being very trustworthy and wasn't liable to take on his tasks in a calm and intelligent manner. I guess you could say that. Well, that's definitely a fail. You don't want to start launching your friends at the dragon. That's bad practice. Now, on a greater scale of things, while amusing, and it is amusing, it's not really the most dastardly fail we've seen, though it would certainly leave a strong impression on your fellow players and I'm sure would be one of those events that would kind of carry on through history as you met and played with these players again. People weren't going to forget when this happened. So, in terms of memorableness, I think it's pretty good. The actual degree of epic failure is not so bad. Um, in talking with my fellow Hornhelm colleagues about it, I asked a few of them, and they said, well, yeah, that's pretty bad. And, gnomes are our friends, but. So we really can't rank this as being that horrible of a failure. And, yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, in talking to everybody about it, we said as a failure, we saw this as about a 6. So that gives a 15 so far. And of course, we had to talk about what was the overall impression of our friend here, IKKIWALLAPOPO, and would we consider him as a member in our party? I'm going to address the latter one first because I think it's quite straightforward. Everyone knows that dwarves are vertically challenged, and we've already heard that Icky here isn't so good on distinguishing between friends, foes, or even rocks on the ground. So being small and launchable by sling, I think we probably wouldn't want to have him in the party. I'm very sorry, Dan. This everything in here that you're describing to us definitely says Florida man, but at the end of the day, it's a little bit too risky for us. Now, in the overall impression, we thought this was a very clever and interesting character, and one that would be fun in any adventuring party as long as you could manage the whole intelligence thing. And on that basis, overall, our impression of IKKIWALLAPOPO was an 8. So that gives us a total of 23, which is a very respectable showing. We really enjoyed this character, and we want to thank Dan for sending him in to us and his wonderful descriptions. Really, this is a cool character. You spend some time on it, and it shows. So, that's what we thought of today's interesting barbarian, IKKIWALLAPOPO. Oh, and I should have pointed out earlier in all of this, IKKIWALLAPOPO is completely neutral. Doesn't really care about good, bad, or anything else. He just cares about Icky. So that's our take on IKKIWALLAPOPO. I found him to be a very interesting character, and I thank Dan very much for having sent him in to us to take a look. I'm going to pass you back over to Riff Raff and wish you all well. And remember, I'm Red Hornhelm. You're not. So, viewers, that's what we have on IKKIWALLAPOPO. I hope you enjoyed Red's interesting look at this very interesting barbarian. And if you did, well, consider giving us a like, drop us a comment, share with your friends, consider subscribing. But most of all, come back and see us again real soon. We do thank you ever so much for your support. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock!